I think that we are now ready to start into the plenary session looking ahead. And we have two speakers here this morning who are going to set the tone, set the direction for this last day of the conference. Many of you have met over the years, and I know that we all have worked with Tracie Billington from Department of Water Resources since the very beginning of this partnership. And she has been a true partner for us and has worked hard in Sacramento and out in the field to make these things happen that we've been able to celebrate, and hopefully we'll continue to celebrate. So, Tracie, if you could come up here, the future of integrated regional water management in California.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm pinch hitting for Director Cowan, and I would have loved to have him give this speech because I'm thinking, well, what is the future? But I'll do my best to have some hopefully salient points. And I'll tell you the inside joke on the cover slide here. The name of this template is called Integral. So that's what Microsoft Office has for Integral. And I pondered leaving this slide in or taking it out because it was one that the department has used to convey the changes in water management philosophies over the generations, and it's very similar to ones that we saw yesterday. And so I think we're changing and realizing we're moving from more of the resource exploitation philosophy to ensuring that our resources are sustainable philosophy. And it's been articulated in different ways, but I think we're all on the same theme of we are at a transition point. And that is also reflected in the changes that you'll see in the water plan if you were to go back and look at one of the few copies of Bulletin 3. I have a copy in my office. It is very much a plumbing solution to water management issues. And in the 2013 water plan, we are seeing different themes. We're looking at advocating integrated water management, looking at the alignment of government services and issues so that we can be efficient, and also looking at investing our funding in a manner that addresses priorities. And for some specifics about the now as opposed to the future, the Water Plan Volume 1 was released this week, and so it is on our webpage and ready for folks to take a look at it. We will be having a 2-day plenary session in Sacramento to basically do an overview of the 2013 Water Plan, the public review draft, and so the public review period of the Water Plan is beginning. At this link here, and I'm sure that all of these slides will be made available, you'll be able to find the agenda for that 2-day meeting. If you just quit typing in after the .gov, you'll get at the Water Plan homepage, and you'll be able to find the versions of the document, including the 2013 North Coast Regional Report. So I put this slide in as just kind of a brief overview. We're about 10 years into IRWM. If we go back to 2002, not Director then Cowan, did come by my office and asked me to do a 1-day assignment to write the budget change proposal for the Proposition 50 IRWM funding, and I did that in a day, and I thought I was done. So I was wrong on that point. But right now, we're well into the IRWM program, and I think we're changing from it's something new to how do we sustain IRWM into the future. It has been a voluntary program, and it's incentive-based. So we're also looking at our existing funding mechanisms that we're in the phase of, we're looking at our final round of funding for the existing funding mechanisms. So moving forward, whether there's another water bond or not, how does IRWM move forward are some of the discussions and topics that we're looking. So we are trying to figure out what is the future of IRWM and does it change. As I said, it's been voluntary and incentive-based. There are some discussions and they're just discussions of, should it always be a voluntary basis? Does it become something more regulatory? I don't know if that's a good answer. It's been a grant-based incentive. If you changed it to loans, would that make it sustainable? Personal opinion is you need about 20 to 30 years of annual capitalization grants to make it sustainable, so that would take a long time and a lot of investments. So we are, we're at a point where what is the future of IRWM? And I put this slide in. I think everybody here has heard that the North Coast is recommended for funding in round 2. This map shows the entire suite of recommendations. So we're recommending funding to about 20 IRWM regions. The folks in the, I still don't know what that color is on this screen, but it's really bright, are recommended for 100% funding. And then we have some folks that are recommended for 75% funding, 50% funding, and those folks that were not recommended for any funding at all. So we're in the midst of getting public comment periods. Public comments. I can tell you that there's already some folks who are unhappy with our recommendations, and we'll be considering those, and we hope within the month to have final recommendations, or a final decision. So in April, the department organized a water summit in Sacramento, and there were some central themes that came out of that meeting that I think were reflected in this discussions that we've had over the past few days, which is recognition that we need to change our approach to water management, and also an optimism that integration and collaboration show promise for the future. The image there is the cover page of a summary or proceedings document from that summit. It's available on the link from our website. It's about 12 pages long and gives you some of the comments and things along those lines. So if you want to peruse that document, it is available on the web. So from that summit and within the proceedings document, the department has identified a commitment to action. And we're looking at facilitating progression to shared understanding. We're looking at supporting multi-benefit solutions. We're looking at practicing integrated water management within our department. So we've been encouraging for the last 10 years folks to integrate and cooperate, and we need to do that also ourselves, and I think we need to improve. And we're looking at, can we change the concept of how, or the construct of how funding is brought forward for the state of California. Traditionally, it's been, here's the funding for a list of things, go find out what's a priority. Would it be better to figure out what's a priority first and then try and find the funding to fit the priorities, or trying to find a problem to fix the funding? So I was supposed to talk about what's the future, and after reflecting on the discussions we've had for the last couple of days and trying to think about what I was going to say, I'm thinking the future is now, because from the funding mechanisms, we're at the point of what we've got is set, and the discussions are going on about what's the future funding. We're looking at a lot of changes, so we need to be engaged in effectively articulating what we need to do in the future, because if we don't, somebody else will figure out what the future is. So all the discussions of you need to actively participate in the IRWM region in the North Coast, I think extend also to the statewide discussions on water management. And I have another slide that will just give you a quick synopsis of what the water bonds say, but I had a few things that I had noted down from the comments from yesterday. On the bond freeze issues of, yes, we didn't have the same experience, for example, as the Shasta River RCD, but yes, we were very aware of the bond freeze issues, and we had our own sets of drama and things, and it was a nightmare on our end also, and I don't think anybody ever wants to go through that again in any shape or form. I think it's amazing that we're 5 years after that, and we're still seeing the effects on projects and people's confidence in the program. So that was a significant negative milestone for everyone. And then when we talk about prompt billing, there are things that we can do within our control, but there are things that you would think were simple that could hopefully pick up at least a few days. The state still cuts checks. If we did electronic fund transfers, would that be something that would at least cut off a few days between having to wait until the 1st and the 30th, the 15th and the 30th, or the 1st and 15th, whatever day controller? Now, that is definitely beyond my control, but that would be that sounds like a simple suggestion that could be made to the controller's office or to the governor. But I would, of course, not advocate for anything. Yes, you could. The other thing on all the discussions about the economics and benefits, I just want to thank everyone for all your positive comments about the economics and benefits, because this is one of the few audiences I go to where anybody has anything nice to say about that. We get a lot of feedback of it's hard, it's burdensome, why are you forcing me to do this? Why don't you just give me the funding for the project? So I was really encouraged and heartened to hear all the folks that felt that there was value in doing the valuing. That's not to say we can't work on making it easier, having better tools, and making it less burdensome, but it was nice to hear that there are folks that have seen that doing the economic analysis has benefits beyond just coming in and getting some points on the grant application. And, okay, so next slide. So, and then I'll reiterate, you need to stay engaged and talk to the folks who are working on what the water bond is. So this is a quick comparison that I did this morning of the current future water bonds. So there's the existing future water bond, and then there's Assembly bill and a Senate bill that are the replacements to the existing future water bond. And so they're both coming in at about $6.5 billion. And they both have about $1.5 billion for IRWM. The difference for, the tangible difference for the North Coast is the Senate bill would have $66 million allocated to the North Coast, and the Assembly bill would have $45 million. I think the big issue there is the Senate bill has the 11 funding areas that were in Prop 84. The Assembly bill has the 12 funding areas that were in the existing future water bond. So if you have a baseline and you're splitting it the same amount of money between 11 groups versus 12 groups, it just changes the numbers slightly. There are different things that are added in here, and there are other things that the North Coast could probably apply for through either one of the bonds. It's just how your projects would fit up with those type of gross categories. Obviously, Sacramento, San Joaquin Delta Sustainability is probably not one that the North Coast would be getting a lot of funding from, but hopefully the water quality and watershed protection type items, they would be. So these bills are currently being discussed and negotiated, and if you are not an active participant, either through your agency, or I know the Water Bond Coalition was mentioned yesterday, things will proceed and go to the voters, and if they pass, Leslie and I will be basically working on implementing whatever we receive from the voters. And so now's the time to, this is why I was going in with the future is now, is like because these decisions are being made, and now's the time to influence it. And that pretty much wraps up my brief comments. All right, thanks.